Hi, I'm Marc and welcome to my book reviews again. Today I have my personal top 10 must-reads for 2022 for you. And I literally mean this. I haven't read any of these books yet, but they ended up at the top of my reading list when I was researching new books because I find the stories from the short explanations very exciting. And that is why I would like to introduce them to you today as well. And there are also new series that I will start reading among them. But you will also see I do read an awful lot of different genres, so let yourself be a little bit surprised in this one. In 10th place is Real Fake by Ali Mennuti. Annie Shepherd is one of the most well-known authors in the world. Her Trust Me series has sold millions of copies. But Annie also has a carefully guarded secret that threatens to be exposed when her boyfriend, award-winning literature professor Joe Duke, dies unexpectedly. To save herself, she must join forces with her greatest enemy, literary agent Henry Higgins. He doesn't exactly come to her aid willingly, but he too has everything to lose. And as everyone knows, what gets teased learns to love each other, or doesn't it? Well, Ali Mennuti has always had two passions, helping people and writing. She follows the first on a daily basis as the manager of an international non-profit consulting firm. The second has now given us her first novel here. She lives in Washington, D.C. with her husband, with her children Charlie and Lily, and a golden doodle. Doodles are great. And let's come to 9th place. 9th place is Amok by Sebastian Fitzek. This day should be her last. Renowned criminal psychologist Iris Salmon carefully prepared her suicide. The death of her eldest daughter weighs too heavily on her conscience. But then she is called to a brutal hostage drama on a radio station. A psychopath plays a macabre game there. He randomly calls people while the show is on. If they answer the phone with a specific password, a hostage is released. If not, one will be shot. The man threatens to keep playing until his fiancée comes to his studio. But she's been dead for months. Ira begins a hopeless negotiation with millions of people listening. And Sebastian Fitzek, born in 1971, is Germany's most successful author. Since his debut, The Therapy, in 2006, all of his novels have been at the top of the bestseller lists. His books are now being published in 36 countries and are the basis for international cinema and also theater adaptations. Sebastian Fitzek was the first German author to be awarded the European Prize for Crime Literature, and in 2018 he was awarded the 11th Poetics Lectureship at the University of Koblenz-Landau. He lives in Berlin. And now let's go to 8th place. That's Dracula by Jonathan Greene. You would say, Dracula is not from Jonathan Greene. Yeah, this one is. This is not only a book, but also a game. I loved something like that when I was young, and I really want to try that again. It's 1897. The neurologist Dr. Seward is intrigued by his new patient, former attorney Mr. Renfield. He recently returned from a trip to Transylvania and has been suffering from delusions ever since. Renfield's replacement, Jonathan Harker, is sent to complete the job. His journey takes him to a remote region infested with wolves and to a remote castle inhabited by the mysterious Count Dracula. What Jonathan experiences there drives him to the brink of madness. And you will still saying, that's Bram Stoker. Well, in this gothic horror playbook, you slip into the role of a vampire hunter or the role of Count Dracula himself. Embark on a journey through dark Transylvania or roam through London at night. Arm yourself with holy water, cross and garlic, and fight against demons, werewolves, and vampires. But beware, for the dead ride fast. Well, Jonathan Greene is a writer of speculative fiction. He has written 45 books and countless short stories, from fantasy game books to Doctor Who, Star Wars The Clone Wars, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Moshi Monsters. He is the creator of the Pax Britannia series for Abaddon Books and has written 8 novels to date for this steampunk universe. He lives in West London with his wife and 2 children, I guess. And now we have to come to number 7 already. Thief of Souls and Inspector Lu-Fi Mystery by Brian Klingborg. The dead woman is perfectly dressed up and dressed as if she was going to a date. Only the autopsy reveals that young Fen Fang was gutted like an animal. The artistically staged act tears Inspector Lu-Fi out of the tedious routine that has determined his life since his punitive transfer to the northern Chinese province. Colleagues loyal to the line soon arrive from Beijing and quickly find someone to blame. However, Lu-Fi doubts that the right person was arrested. He investigates further and comes across a whole series of bizarre murders of women, but in doing so, he calls powerful opponents into action. The author Brian Klingborg studied East Asian studies at Harvard and has lived and worked in Asia for many years. Today he lives in New York, works in publishing, and continues to devote himself to his passions, writing and Asian culture. And at number 6, we now come to Never by Ken Folett. Western Secret Service agents follow the trail of powerful drug smugglers in the Sahara. The American Tamara and her French colleague Tab are among them. They risk their careers for their love and their lives for their country. And not far away, the young widow Kia makes her way to Europe with the help of smugglers. When she has to defend herself against attacks, a fellow passenger helps her. But he doesn't seem to be what he says he is. And in China, high government official Chiang Kai is fighting the communist hardliners. He has ambitious plans and, he fears that his opponent's warmongering will lead the country and its ally North Korea down a path from which there is no turning back. And we have another staging area, that's the USA. There, Pauline Greene, the country's first female president, conducts her official business with poise and discretion. She will do everything in her power to prevent the US from having to enter an unnecessary war. But when one aggressive act leads to the next, when all diplomatic means have been exhausted and the final decision has been made, who can then prevent the inevitable? Heroines and villains, false prophets and brave warriors, love and hate meet in Ken Follett's latest novel. And he asks, if the world is just one step away from abyss, what else can each individual do? Well, as I heard, Never is stunning and a wake-up call, and I'm really curious to read it. Ken Folett, born in Cardiff in Wales in 1949, is one of the most successful authors in the world. Well, you see there. It's not only with the historical novels such as the Pillars of the Earth or Kingsbridge that he regularly conquers the bestseller lists. Thrillers like The Needle or The Children of Eden impressively demonstrate that he is just as masterful of the genre of suspense literature. And now we come to number 5. Not number 5 lives, but number 5. Operation Syria by William Meikle. While attempting to rescue a group of archaeologists from a war zone, the escort find themselves in a desolate desert region filled with forgotten ancient cities and temples. There, they quickly realize that they are not alone. First they encounter corpses, then webs, and finally hungry spiders. Big hungry spiders. As you can see, I'm not afraid of stories with pretty nasty spiders. You heard about... Yeah. William Meikle is one of Scotland's best-known literary experts, having published over 30 novels and written over 300 short stories. Meanwhile, he has made his home in Newfoundland, where he enjoys the company of whales, bald eagles, and icebergs. When he's not writing, he's usually drinking beer, playing the guitar, or dreaming of fortune and fame. Oh, must be my brother. And let's come to the fourth place. The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. The rule of the augurs, powerful magicians with visionary abilities, ended 20 years ago in fire and blood. Those who served them, the gifted, were spared only because they submitted to the rigid new law that limits their power. The gifted young Davian and his friends grow up in a world that despises them and watches them closely. But when Davian discovers that he possesses the magic of the seers, forbidden under penalty of death, he sets in motion a chain of events that will change everything forever. For in the north an enemy stirs, whom one thought defeated for too long. By the way, this is the prelude to the Licanius saga. And the author James Islington grew up in southern Australia. He was early drawn to the works of Raymond E. Feast and Robert Jordan, but it was Brendan Sanderson and Patrick Rothfuss that inspired him to start writing himself. His debut, The Legacy of Seers, became an instant favorite with fantasy readers. James Islington currently resides with his wife on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria in Australia. And that brings us to my top 3 books I absolutely want to read in 2022. In third place is 1984.4 by Philip Kerr. It's the year 2034. The state has complete control over life and death. The mysterious Winston watches over everyone. 16-year-old Florence works with conviction for the so-called senior service, whose job is to unmask and kill elderly people who refuse to take their lives voluntarily to make room for the younger ones. But then Florence falls in love with Eric, and she begins to question the system. With his latest book, best-selling author Philip Kerr not only pays homage to Orwell's classic, but also a highly topical novel, and shows that the power of love is stronger than any suppression, is what I've been told. That's why I want to read it. Philip Kerr was born in Edinburgh in 1956. In 1989, his first novel, Fire in Berlin, was published. From the debut, the series developed around the private detective Bernard Gunther. For Volume 6, The Adlon Conspiracy, Philip Kerr won the Spanish media group's RBA's Most Valuable Crime Prize in the world and the renowned Alice Peters Award. Kerr lived in London, where unfortunately he passed away in 2018. So it's not a 2021 book, but still current. At number 2, we now have a book that I've already started and for a special reason. I would soon have guests here on my German Books channel with their favorite books. And my second place is the book of my first guest, which we will of course discuss in detail then on my German channel when we have the appointment. But I'm also very excited about this book because of this story. So my second place is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. What if love could change the world? Well, let's talk about the Crown Prince and the President's son. When his mother is elected the first woman president of the United States, Alex Claremont Diaz becomes the nation's darling overnight. Attractive, charismatic, smart, a marketing dream for the White House. Unfortunately, Alex is a bit lacking on a diplomatic level. During a state visit to England, Alex's smouldering argument with the British heir to the throne, Prince Henry, escalates quite a bit. When the media got wind of this, relations between the US and England deteriorated rapidly. To limit the damage, the two young men are supposed to fake their reconciliation in a way that is effective in the media. But what if Alex and Henry discover that there is an attraction between them that goes far beyond friendship? And suddenly Alex's mother's re-election isn't the only thing at stake. The American journalist and author Casey McQuiston took the bestseller lists in the USA by storm with Red, White and Royal Blue. Her love story about Alex, the son of the American president, and Prince Henry, the Prince of Wales, is heartwarmingly romantic and just bursting with positive energy, I read. And that's why I hope it's a good choice for the first video here. Casey McQuiston grew up in southern Louisiana, where she developed a love for cake and heartfelt stories that continues to this day. She studied journalism and worked in the magazine industry for years before finding her way into writing books. Today, she writes unconventional romantic comedies and stories that are a wonderful escape from everyday life. Casey lives and works, always accompanied by mixed breed dog Pepper, in New York City. And now it's number one. Number one is what you certainly didn't expect otherwise. It's of course a Star Wars book. And today's first place is Star Wars: The High Republic, The Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. Long before the First Order, before the Empire, even before the Phantom Menace, Jedi lit the way for the galaxy in the High Republic. It's a golden age for the galaxy. Intrepid scouts from hyperspace extend the Republic's reach to the farthest stars, worlds prosper under the benevolent leadership of the Senate, and peace reigns enforced by the wisdom and strength of the famed force-wielding order known as the Jedi. With the Jedi at the peak of their power, the free citizens of the galaxy are confident they can weather any storm. But even the brightest light can cast a shadow, and some storms defy preparation. When a shocking cataclysm in hyperspace rips a ship apart, the hail of shrapnel that emanates from the cataclysm threatens an entire system. No sooner does the call for help ring out than the Jedi rush to the crime scene. However, the magnitude of the emergence is enough to push even Jedi to the limit. As the skies break open and destruction rains down on the peaceful alliance they helped build, the Jedi must trust the Force to get them through a day when a single mistake could cost billions of lives. As the Jedi valiantly fight the evil, something truly deadly grows beyond the borders of the Republic. The hyperspace cataclysm is by far more sinister than the Jedi could ever imagine. A menace lurks in the darkness far from the light of time, harboring a secret that could strike fear even in the heart of a Jedi. Sounds good, doesn't it? Charles Soule has made a name for himself as an author of Marvel comics, including Daredevil and Star Wars, and also works as a musician and lawyer. He lives in Brooklyn in New York. And together with Cavan Scott, Justina Ireland, Claudia Gray and Daniel Jose Olde, he designed the concept of Star Wars: The High Republic. And he wrote the first volume of the series, The Light of the Jedi, and it got straight to the top of the New York Times bestseller list. And that will certainly not remain the only Star Wars book in 2022, as you will know. But if you have already read one or more of the books, please write in the comments how you liked them, or if necessary, dislike them. But please, no spoilers in the middle. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.